Bubbly, bubbly, bubbly. Morning, guys. All right. So, moving right along. There's no pow, 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 pow. This is the next day. Morning, guys. All right, this is the next day. So, moving right along, and I know I still have to clean up that tail fin and do that stuff, but I'm gonna put that on the back burner for right now and move forward to another step. And let me tell you my theory, and then I'll show you how I came to my conclusions. My theory is, well, let me start with my wants and desires. I don't want a completely straight open header. That loud, obnoxious blah 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 blah. I actually wanted to build this thing to where it was quiet. Like, you know, so I could sneak around town, you know what I mean? And not be too obtrusive. But I kind of like the sound of that blah 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 blah. You know, that bubbly, bubbly, bubbly. I think we all do. So, I'm gonna go for a happy medium, you know? But I don't want it to be obnoxiously loud. I kind of would like a whisper, as well as a pa pa pa. So, that being said, I've decided to try, I've seen all kinds of homemade mufflers, and most of them don't do crap. You still sound like you have a wide open pipe. People are drilling holes in their pipes and wrapping them with steel wool and enclosing them, but they still have that tube that goes through the middle with nothing obstructing the flow of the sound waves. Well, it doesn't do anything. The sound still comes straight through there. You're not, theoretically it looks like it would work, but in order for it to go through that steel wool, you have to block off that end cap so it can go through those holes and be forced through that steel wool and come back out the other side and then exit. That might work, but I've never seen anybody do that. I did see with one gentleman, he built this homemade muffler and he capped the end off of it and he drilled a bunch of holes around the outside of it, and that was all he did. And this thing was like, it wasn't no pow 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 pow. It was, and it was neat. Of course, it wasn't on a motor like this. It was on an old, it's on a big old slow idling machine. I can't remember what it was. I'll try to find the video and put the link in the description, but so you can see it for yourself. But using that theory, sound waves get reduced every time there's a bend, because it breaks up that flow, and but yet it doesn't break them down completely. You know, they're still prominent. Anyway, I can't think of what else I was going to say about it. But I've heard that I want back pressure too. I want just a little bit of back pressure, because motors do run better if they have a wee bit of back pressure. And so with all that stuff in mind, here's what I want to do. I want to cut the header pipe off to where it goes inside the tail fin piece. And this is a same size of pipe as what I'm going to be using. And I don't want to block it off completely. So I'm going to take a washer. See what I mean? So it's still got that straight exit, but it's reduced. Okay? And I'm going to weld that on there. And then I'm going to drill holes on the sides to let the remainder of the pressure escape. And I believe, if my theory is correct, that by stopping it, slowing it down here and forcing it out the sides is going to create back pressure, as well as the curves in the header supposedly builds back pressure, just not very much. So what I need to do is figure out the area of that because that's the same size as the actual pipe coming out of the engine. And how many 1/4 inch holes I need to drill to make the same amount of area as that. Even though it'll be the same amount of area, it's going to have to change direction, which will give me back pressure because it's going to bottleneck here, and then it's going to be diverted out the sides. So it's going to give me back pressure, and it's going to reduce the sound waves. And there's a big old bird over there. I've never seen anything like it. Anyway, so I need to figure out the area of that, and then so I can figure out how many little holes I need to drill. And there's a mathematical equation for finding areas, and the area in a circle. And let me show that to you. It's kind of complex. Okay, I believe you can see that. So the inside diameter of that pipe is 3/4 inches, which is 0.75. The mathematical equation is 0.75 times pi radius squared. Well, the radius is half the circle, which half of 3/4 is 3/8, which breaks down to 0.375. So you multiply 3, and pi is 3.14. So you multiply that together and you get 1.17750. And you break that decimal down and round it up, and you get 1.78 inches of area. Okay, so then you got to do the same equation with the 1/4 inch hole. And if you do all that math, it will tell you exactly how many 1/4 inch holes you need to fill up this amount of area. Which that's all complicated and long and drawn out. So I decided to take the easy route, and I just drew this circle. I laid down a slice of the pie, drew a circle, put down my 1/4 inch hole template from my drill bit chart, and drew a bunch of circles in there, and I came up with 7 with a little bit of left over around the edges where, you know, it didn't hit. So 8, say 8 holes. How hard is that, right? But so long story short, that's what I'm gonna do. All right. So yeah, I know that was a long story for nothing, right? I could have just taken you to the short version, but maybe you learned something from that. All right, so that's the game plan. I'm gonna try that, and man, I hope I'm right, because I don't want to have that all welded together and find out that sucks, and then have to somehow or another figure out how to get it apart so I can redo it. You know what I mean? That would blow. So here's the challenges and attempts. That's what I'm gonna do, and I'll show you that when I actually do it, you know, when I get it done. Right now I got to pause this, take care of some things, and I'll get back to you in a little bit. Alright? Okay, hang in there. So I think you can see what I've done there. I kind of staggered the holes a little bit. Put only 2 on each 1/4 of the pipe. That way it's not all blown out in the same area. Anyway, cleaned up the end to accept the weld of the washer. And that'll be next. Okay, so I've cleaned up the tail fin, welded up the pinholes, cleaned it up as much as I can. Every time I try to grind on it now, I just break through another hole. So I don't want to weld and grind on it anymore. Any more cosmetic appearance changes I want to improve, I'm going to have to do with JB Weld. Smooth it on there like body filler and sand it down. As for the pipe itself, it's ready to go. Got my washer welded in place. Got it cleaned up. Got my holes drilled. So, yep, I'm going to work on the tail fin, getting that cosmetically repaired, and then we'll be able to proceed with, it's just so much easier to work with it you know, by itself, as opposed to having it attached to the header pipe. So I want to get all that stuff taken care of before I weld them together. So the next thing I'm going to do is clean that up with some soap and water, let it dry, and mix up some JB weld and smooth on there a little bit, just enough to fill up all these craters. And so a little bead there I missed. But anyway, yeah, you get the idea. Hey guys, next morning again, and I've been out here for a little while. I've done a few things. I put JB weld on that muffler fin last night and let it cure, or yesterday, and let it cure overnight. And I came out and sanded it down some, and enough to where I'm satisfied with it for now. And shot it with a coat of black heat paint, engine muffler paint, you know. Did the same thing with the header pipe, painted it, and then I remembered that I'm going to have to weld on it, so I had to go back and sand some of it off in the appropriate places. And I was working on the Kickstarter assembly, and let me show you what I did with that. Now those of you that have watched all the videos about this know that I initially built this so it had a much greater turning gear ratio, but it was too highly geared. But the way I have it set up now, this doesn't actually do anything, but it does hold that shaft. This chain is a little bit tighter than this one, and it may, I'm hoping, it may keep this from trying to pivot when I kick on it. And that may solve the problem, and it may not. If that doesn't do it, I may have to take it apart and rebuild it, because it just, the chain needs to be a little bit tighter. So anyway, that being said, that's enough of that. We won't know about that till I get the muffler on it and actually try it. I'm not going to try to even kick it without it having exhaust on it. So we'll find out after I finish this thing. Yeah. So I don't know, it's going to be one of those Chinese juggling acts, trying to figure out how to hold all that stuff and weld it. But I will show it to you after I get it done. And I think what I'm going to do is just tack weld it, in case when it actually does run, if it sounds crappy or doesn't run good because of the way I've done that, then it won't be real hard to cut off. But if it works good, the motor runs good, and it sounds good, I'll take it back off and solidly weld everything up. So that'll be the next thing we see. Well, there's a sneak peek of it with it just tack welded. I got to take it off there and weld around that flange, and then I'm just going to put it back on there and try it. And if it works, if the motor runs okay, and if it sounds alright, I'll go ahead and finish welding it. Alright, morning fellas. It's the next day again. Obviously they're got me back to work, and we're going to try to fire this thing up. See if the new Kickstarter enhancement that I did to it helps, and listen to the new muffler. So bear with me just a moment while I set the camera up, and we'll give her a go. Well, that sounded pretty good. It's you can tell it's not a straight wide open pipe, and it's got a little bit of that pow 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 like I was looking for. See how this runs right down with the backbone? Well, it's way up in there, out of the way of my leg. And it just straight down from the seat, you don't even see it. Just barely. I'm gonna have to take it off and finish welding it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna like it. It's got a nice crisp little sound to it, little bit of bubble action. Kind of like the best of all worlds. As for the Kickstarter, I think I heard it slip a tooth. And you know what else? Now I'm not wearing short pants, so it's kind of might be deceiving, but I didn't feel anything pop out of here. I should have put on short pants so I could told. Yeah, I can see all that fresh, new, high temp engine paint that I put on there, curing. Doing the rapid cure thing. Yeah, I gotta take it back apart and weld it all around in there yet, which may affect the way it sounds a little bit. But yeah, that's the next step. I'm gonna leave it like that. I like it. I'm gonna go ahead and weld her up. Let me know what you think. Thanks for coming by and watching that. Appreciate you guys. Take care. Leave me some comments, and we'll see what direction this thing goes next. Still got a lot to do. I don't even want to go into it, man, you know. Well, briefly, I got to put a support from the bottom of the frame to up underneath the backbone. Got to put gussets in the front end. Got to figure out how I'm going to charge my battery for my lights and things. I want to put a tail rack on the back there in case I want to haul a small cooler or some groceries or whatever. And I may even make that to where it's universal, to where I can slip a seat on there and take a passenger if I want to. And because Pat likes to ride, you know. And little things, a lot to do yet. So stay tuned, and I'll see you later. All right, bye-bye. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Bubbly, bubbly, bubbly. Pow, pow. There's no pow, 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 pow. So, moving right along. I don't know how fast it goes. It goes fast enough to be fun.